Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we get to take a look at a brand new Tier 8 cruiser. This is the Bridgeport that you can earn completely for free just by playing in update 14.9. I've been having an absolute blast playing this ship for this video. It might be my new favorite Tier 8 cruiser. I gotta play it some more to see if that's actually true. But so far, this ship has been absolutely amazing. The brawls that I've been getting into, it is ridiculously fun. Not only is this ship really fun at close range with this unreal reload booster, doubling your reload rate for up to 80 seconds all at once. This is a consumable much like the new smokes that we see on the Burrows line, except it's a reload booster. There's some downsides. Okay, there's some significant downsides to it. It's not busted overpowered, but it also gets a heal. Finally, we get something on the American heavy cruiser line that's got a heal at tier 8 compared to Baltimore, compared to Anchorage, compared to Rochester. It's so nice to have a heal. In fact, it reminds me a lot of a Tago. You give up DPM, in this case, a massive amount of DPM compared to Baltimore, but we gain some survivability. And I always love playing a Tago over Mogami because the survivability is so important versus that reduced DPM. Here, having this heal is incredibly nice. And we don't even suffer too much on the DPM. It's much better, actually, with this reload booster active. Our base DPM, though, is worse than New Orleans at tier 7. It is a little painful bringing that into tier 10 games and trying to farm down 100k HP battleships. But if they damage control of fire, well, suddenly we can get more DPM than a base Buffalo gets, doubling our DPM up to over tier 9 DPM for a limited time, but very, very useful. I really, really enjoyed this consumable. You're going to have to make good use of it, though, to get the most out of this ship, as there is no radar here. That is a big downside. This is fully a DPM-focused ship. This is a damage dealer cruiser that has worse base DPM than a New Orleans does, a tier lower than it. So you'll have to get the most out of this reload booster, as well as the healing, allowing you to play at these closer ranges. There's some other changes too, but let's talk about how you can actually get this ship for free. Update 14.9 is going to be bringing the Liberty Harbor, which is going to be built through combat missions as well as sending ships out on expeditions. I'm not sure what that all entails. I think that's like an AFK thing where you send a ship out and over a period of time, it'll come back with some progress for you. You do need to play the game. I'm not sure how much, though, in 14.9 to actually build this Liberty Harbor. There's a few different ways. There is that expedition thing, but there are different combat missions depending on if you're playing random, ranked, and brawls, or operations, co-op battles, and temporary battle types. Fortunately, though, they have clarified that you only need to do mission types from a single one of those areas. So if you only play random, ranked, and brawls, that's totally fine. You don't have to go into co-op and operations to do that side of the mission chains to actually get Bridgeport for free, assuming you're doing some of these expeditions. I think that's what it comes down to. You have to do expeditions and either the PvE mode missions or the PvP mode missions. Seems pretty reasonable. However, I don't know how difficult it's going to be. That is the issue. I don't know how many combat missions there are, how difficult they're going to be. And that's quite unfortunate. But overall, I think this is a really cool event. I gotta say, Wargaming, you've been cooking recently. I cannot believe how much of a breath of fresh air this has been relative to the first half of 2025. The last few updates have been unreal with the amount of content, not only for the very expensive players who are willing to spend hundreds of dollars on the game. There is that too. We're gonna look at Indiana soon, but I wanted to take a look at the new free ship first before we take a look at that new battleship. Last update too, we got a ton of new content for free-to-play players, for people willing to spend a little bit of money on the game. These dockyards are great for if you're willing to spend a little bit of money on this game, and free content too. You can earn a ton of free doubloons these few updates, as well as GQ Johnny. We had the San Diego event. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. Good job, Wargaming. But let's get back to this ship. That DPM figure is going to be a big downside here. 114k HE DPM and 189k AP DPM. Pretty rough considering Baltimore's up at 151k HE DPM and 270k AP DPM. The big difference there actually comes down to the shells that Bridgeport gets. The HE shells are pretty close. They're only missing 50 alpha damage off of Baltimore. So 2750 alpha damage on the HE versus 22,800 alpha damage there. The fire chance is also reduced, unfortunately, down to 11% base instead of 14. So you're lighting less fires too. Reminder though, you can just double your DPM at the click of a button for 80 seconds a battle. It's important that it's not just a Baltimore that then gets this reload booster. Otherwise, that would be crazy. Watch our reload throughout some of these experiences here and notice that we're getting towards base Des Moines reload rate. 6 seconds, 5.5 second reloads on 203s at tier 8 is pretty nuts. We never go for rams here, and sometimes that leads to my death, and other times, well, I gotta show you this clip again. I was having so much fun with this thing. But the alpha damage reduction is certainly important, especially on the AP. We don't get the 5k alpha damage AP. Not that that matters too much. It's still 4,550 alpha damage. More than enough when we're reloading this quickly at this tier. And I think that's maybe why the DPM doesn't spike quite so much as you would think, given the reload rate, the reloading numbers. The alpha damage has certainly been reduced. Fortunately, we retain the improved pen angles. That's how we were able to get through into that breast there at certain angles. And I did manage to live that, actually. I was very, very surprised. Thanks to the healing, okay? No way I lived that otherwise. Heals are so, so important. The pen appears to be the same as well as Baltimore, so it's not like we're losing pen either, but that reduction in our alpha damage is certainly noticeable a little bit. More importantly, though, the base reload. As soon as I'm out of this reload booster, it feels very, very slow. Now, I haven't played a ton of Baltimore recently. I've more been playing Des Moines, of course, and Des Moines has crazy reload. But it's a long reload, especially on a ship that doesn't have that radar utility either. We are a pure damage dealer with some of the worst DPM figures at tier 8 as far as cruisers go. So that is the main downside. Also, it seems like our AA is pretty terrible. If you're wondering why I was running AA defensive fire instead of Hydro, which all of you probably should be running, I should be running that too. Well, double carrier games, and who do they go after? This isn't even a CPQ shoot PQ moment, which certainly does happen. I try my best to avoid it though. It's a new ship. It's a test ship. So if carriers get in the game, it's like they're moths attracted to a bright light or something like that. They can't help themselves but focus the new ship. So I was trying my best. I even took one of the AA skills on my commander. I took the flag. I have defensive fire, and it's still not enough. Your AA is quite abysmal on this ship. No different really than Baltimore or anything like that. But I point that out because a ship like this one wants to be playing around islands. How else are you supposed to play a ship like this one into higher tier games? You cannot open water very easily with this ship. I did not find it very maneuverable at all. It wasn't very easy to dodge a lot of incoming fire. So we need to use island cover to support our playstyle. And carriers, of course, will love to go after you when you're on islands. AA does not go through islands, so that gives them a nice approach angle where they don't take any damage. So pretty rough to have that as a weakness of a ship like this one, as I had a ton of fun with it otherwise. Hydro here is very good, of course. Having a 5-kilometer hydro is great for islands. You're going to see plenty of times throughout this video where if I had had a hydro, it'd be so much easier to know who's pushing me on my flanks and who's pushing up to the island opposite me on the enemy team. It would have been really nice to have. Unfortunately, we did not have that as an option. I also really want to point out the cooldown time on this reload booster. If I turn it off and I don't want to use it anymore, it's extremely short. It's only a couple seconds before I can start using it again. It's not like there's a massive punish here. It's like 5 seconds or whatever. Look at that. It's already back and available for use. It's a very, very forgiving consumable to use. Just don't forget it on. I do that in the next battle, actually. Don't forget it on, because it really is the entire power of this ship outside of the healing over something like the Baltimore. But I really like it, okay? I have really been having a good time playing this ship. Mostly using the AP here because the HE fire chance has been nerfed down quite a bit. Although if I notice someone has damage controlled, I will, of course, go for the high explosive. Maybe if I have reload available, that booster available, try and get that relight of permanent fires. Did that in the first game against that Yamato, getting that relight of a double permanent fire. That is worth going for, but generally the AP here is what I want to be doing. Quite a few plane kills still, but you notice how a lot of those strikes still got through in that battle. That's kind of the unfortunate side of things. Pushing up very aggressively, and yet again, finding ourselves in a tier 10 game. I found most of my games were either tier 10, or if I got the tier 8 matchmaker, it was just double carrier. Yeah, painful stuff, painful stuff. And yet I still had a good time, okay? That maybe speaks more about how good this ship can be in the right situation. Look at us, man. You're basically pushing the corner on a Des Moines at certain points here. Look at this damage. Front guns only 4 to 5k salvos every 6 seconds into that Los Andes. That's amazing. That is so cool to have on a tier 8 cruiser. You gotta be very careful of if the ship has its booster available. It's not quite Des Moines DPM, but it's getting pretty close to Des Moines DPM on a tier 8. Very situationally, though, of course. I was not running full conceal in a lot of these games. Notice I'm at 10.5 kilometer detect in a lot of these battles, but you can get that down a lot lower towards 9.5 kilometer detect, which is really nice for allowing you to push up. They just didn't give me access to a full 21-point commander, unfortunately. Sometimes they do that. I don't actually know why some of these ships they give us to play early for videos have the ability to run a full 21-pointer, and others don't. So I was limited to like 17 points. And I wanted to try these more DPM focused builds, getting in close, using top grade gunner, getting me that extra reload rate, because that is the big downside of a ship like this one, the massive reduction in reload. In fact, if I look at the DPM figures on Mogami to Atago, Mogami has 141k HE DPM, Atago only has 123k. So you're only missing less than 20k HE DPM going from Mogami to Atago and gaining that heal. Maybe that's why I enjoy Atago so much. You're not giving up too much in exchange for that extra survivability. Where with Baltimore to Bridgeport, it's a big reduction. 151k HE DPM down to 114k HE DPM. Big difference there. But this reload booster really makes up for it. Trying to help deal with this Colombo, our daring there on the flank does manage to take him down. Very scary to deal with that. That's why I had to angle in perfectly. Fortunately, we still have the armor profile of a Baltimore, so we're having that 27 mil bow plating that allows us to auto bounce 380 millimeter guns, including sap, assuming we perfectly angle to it and he doesn't hit our superstructure. We can survive that, which we managed to do here. And while we're here farming very slowly, waiting for our guns to reload against this Musashi, I should mention our kiting angles are actually very good. Instead of just 30 degrees forward, 30 degrees backwards like we get on the Baltimore, Bridgeport gets 27 degrees backwards. Very nice. Still 30 degrees forward, but that does allow you to get your front guns off on a few more situations where otherwise you wouldn't. As for our HP, it is a little bit lower than Baltimore, but the healing more than makes up for that. Better detect than Baltimore, slightly faster, 33 knots versus 32.5 knots. Not much difference there. Acceleration is the same, but rudder shift. And this is why this ship is going to struggle if you're in open water situations. It does not do well against battleships in open water. I got very lucky to not just instantly die to this Musashi here. We have a 12.6 second rudder shift and a 7.8 second rudder shift on Baltimore. Huge reduction there. It's also a little worse turning circle radius too by like 20 meters. But the main thing is that rudder shift. So a ship like this one really does need to play around islands. Open water dodging is going to be very difficult on this one. Fortunately, though, for us, we have a 33% Citadel repair. A lot of cruisers get this, but it allows us to heal more if we do take a Citadel. Battleships can only heal back like 10% of Citadel repair. So much better than that, but it's very standard on a cruiser heal. Nothing too spectacular there. This ship really is just all about this reload booster and getting the most value out of that. before the battle ends. It's nice to not have this in a consumable. You could think of it like 4 charges of a 20-second reload booster, but it's even better than that because you can turn it on and off at will. That is so cool about this type of consumable. I've been loving it on the Burrows line with their smokes, and seeing it here as a reload booster is so fun. Very, very unique cruiser, very unique playstyle. It adds a heal to one of my favorite lines at tier 8. I've been missing that anytime I play through Baltimore. I've been wanting a heal on a tier 8 American heavy cruiser. Finally, I get it with a really, really cool gimmick. I don't think it's going to be busted overpowered, but I do think it is very fun to have this extra DPM situationally. And it's free. You can earn this completely for free just by playing the game. Man, the updates for World of Warships these days have been absolutely incredible, and I'm very excited to see what building this Liberty Harbor actually is going to entail. It's my one worry here is that the mission chains just might be ridiculous. We'll see though. Maybe I'll have to do an update if they are ridiculous going over that in a video. Hopefully, I don't have to do that. And I haven't mentioned it intentionally till now, but you can't actually buy your way through this Liberty Harbor. I don't know why you would, because you can just get it all for free. I would not recommend anybody buy their way through it. But if you do, the total cost will be 32k doubloons. A lot. Just play the game for free, earn this ship for free. I think it's a really, really cool event to have. This is exactly what... I'm going to keep repeating myself, but this is exactly my criticism from earlier getting addressed earlier in this year. We need things in these updates for free-to-play players to get excited about. We need things in the update that, you know, people spending 10 to 30 bucks a month on the game can get excited about. And then you can put stuff in the game that whales get excited about for hundreds of dollars. And I don't care then. I really don't care as much, okay? We'll take a look at Indiana soon, but I don't care nearly as much about the ridiculously priced items in the game, as long as there's new, interesting content for the average player or the free-to-play player. And seemingly, that's what they've been doing the last couple updates. Bravo, Wargaming. Continue this trend, and I'm just going to be looking forward to every update every month without any sort of reservations. I'm so happy these days. And maybe that's just because I'm getting older and I'm just kind of mellowing out or something. I'm actually 30 now, turned 30 a couple days ago. Crazy. But it's been so nice the last couple of months making videos. This is my job. I'm lucky enough to do this as my job. But man, it was getting hard to play this game and be positive and find interesting things about new updates when everything was so expensive in the first half of 2025. It was difficult, man. They've made my job so much easier these last couple updates. It's been amazing. So good. Continue, please, Wargaming. Anyways, let's talk about the build here. This is what I was running eventually. I did start with the full concealment thing, but I wanted to see what top grade gunner would do. Notice we don't have access to Halsey. Imagine this ship with Halsey yet as well. I gotta try it. I've been having a blast, so you're going to see more videos on this thing, don't you worry. Outnumbered would also be very good. Some of our dispersion wasn't so great, like on that Plymouth in the first couple minutes of the video. Would have been nice to get some Citadels earlier instead of just only overpens onto them, so would like to run something like Outnumbered. And our concealment is so good base that I don't even feel the need necessarily to take concealment. It is worth taking, though, if you struggle to get into good positions. Like I said, the ship is not about sustained DPM, it's about bursty DPM. So you need to find good positions to make best use of this consumable to let you burst in damage. If you're using it as just a normal, long-range, basic damage farmer, sustained DPM damage farmer, it's not going to play very well at all, in my opinion. If we do swap over to the concealment, you can see we get down to 9.5. Very, very comfortable. Top grade or outnumbered would be my next upgrade if I had the full commander. And then grease the gears feels kind of necessary because the turrets don't turn particularly quick. I'll leave it on the concealment one so we can see that. But look at that rudder shift. Oof, that is painful. Absolutely painful. Checking out the armor layout here. 27, 27, 27. Slightly above water citadel, but only in the middle. So battleships, if they shoot here, well, they'll just overpen, even if you're broadside. So they have to hit this specific area. You can poke around islands, right? The spotting system always use the highest portion of your ship's superstructure for spotting. That's the only thing that determines if you're spotted. So on that Islands of Ice map, I could actually hide that section behind an island and still shoot my guns at that Bismarck towards the end of that match. pretty cool tech that you can use. Firing angles did seem pretty good overall too, and especially towards the stern. Upgrades wise looked like this. Again, defensive fire, I'm probably just coping here. In fact, I was coping because it didn't even help me against the double carrier games. I should have just ran hydro, so I'm going to swap it over to hydro right now. And then you could use hydro mod or just... I didn't notice my engine room going out or my rudder going out that much, so maybe damage control mod. But we have a heal, so we don't worry as much about fire. It's so nice to have a heal on a tier 8 cruiser, man. It's so much more playable into those full up tiers. It's so much better into down tiers too. Against tier 6s and 7s, you're a bit of a bully against those tiers at that point. And into up tiers, it makes it so much easier to play the game. 16 kilometers range is pretty solid overall, I'd say. Don't feel the need to have extra range. Most of the island positions I could get into, most maps have good positions where 16 kilometers of range is enough. And that's going to do it for the initial video here on Bridgeport. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you're playing the game this update. Hopefully those missions aren't too extreme because this is such a fun ship and I want to see as many people get their hands on this thing because it is just so much fun to play. Thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of your day.